We have team coverage for you tonight as protests continue across the country and locally, sparked by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo spoke with the president of the Greater Springfield NAACP about the protests, and she joins us now live with more. Audrey?
Now, if you've been following us since 5:30, you can see that the scene behind me looks a lot different than it did even just a half hour ago. Protesters were concentrated in that area through the parking garage, having a dialogue with police and asking them to take a knee, and it appears as though they have. Protesters tell us that they witnessed the officers in this parking garage take a knee, and then shortly after that time, the protesters began to disperse from that area. Very peaceful from what we could see, but of course, looking at the images out of Boston from this weekend, a little bit of a different story there. I spoke with the president of the Greater Springfield NAACP, who says that the anger and the unrest comes from years of systemic racism.
When people riot, it's because that they really think they need to be heard.
Local protesters say the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis brings the issue of police brutality against people of color to the forefront once again. Floyd died after a police officer held a knee on the man's neck for several minutes, an interaction captured on camera and seen by millions.
What goes through the minds of most black people is, here we go again. Here's another black person who has not been tried, who has not been convicted of any crime, who has lost their life in an extrajudicial murder.
The head of the Greater Springfield NAACP, Bishop Talbert Swan, spoke with Western Mass News over the phone. As protests continue throughout the country, Swan says Floyd's death is one of many that have angered the community.
The murder of George Floyd was just a spark that lit a powder keg that had already been brewing and filled with the kerosene of white supremacy in America.
Some violence has occurred during and after protests, like these images captured in Boston over the weekend. Swan says one shouldn't condemn the response without also condemning the act that sparked it.
If you never raised your voice in condemnation of the extrajudicial murder of black people, if you never raised your voice in condemnation of police brutality and abuse of authority, then you ought to be silent when it comes to giving your opinion about the reaction of those who are frustrated and angry about a system that has not heard their pleas for justice.
Swan says society must develop no tolerance for police brutality for change to happen.
They have to develop a no tolerance for it, and they have to weed out those within the criminal injustice system that are hell-bent on protecting the perpetrators of these kinds of crimes.
Now, over the weekend, Boston police say that 21 of their cars were damaged and that more than 40 people were placed under arrest. Last Friday, Springfield's demonstration yielded no arrests and no damage, and we're continuing to follow the situation here in Northampton. Live in Northampton, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.